Pixel 8 Pro. It's not perfect, but it's very good. But I want to talk about maybe some of the downsides of the phone, because every time these phones come out, you see stuff positive, positive, positive. It's great. What are some of the drawbacks with this phone, and is it worth it? So just up front, I think it's worth it. I've really been enjoying it, and there's a lot of great things about it. But some of the complaints that I have, maybe other folks have. And the biggest one that I have is it doesn't have video out on the USB-C. And I have a lot of people complain about this to me. Even one of my best friends talks about it and complains because he likes to use video out for his business stuff, to be able to project stuff onto TVs whenever he goes places or monitors. And that's something I feel like should be here. Now, I've had a couple people say, oh, that's because they expect you to use Google Chromecast. That's not always an option. This should always be an option. So that's kind of a headache for me. And it's a real big headache because I've been making a video about an XR glasses headset, and I have to use another phone. I've been testing out the Pixel 8 Pro. I can't use the XR glasses, AR glasses, whatever, with this. And that's kind of frustrating. And that might be frustrating for some people, especially business-oriented folks or people who travel a lot, who want to use those glasses for media and entertainment, who want to use them for work as a second display, or to be able to work with privacy while you're on a plane. There's lots of situations that they come up. I use them every time I travel, and I love them. So that's one thing that's kind of frustrating. The other, charging speed. So you're still limited to 30 watts charge, and of course with all the way that it's not really 30 watt charging, but it starts off okay. The first 50% of the battery, it doesn't charge too slow, but it's not any of these other breakneck speeds you get with like 67 watts or 45 watts or anything like that. But there's a reason for that, and it's kind of a trade-off. This phone is supposed to be supported for 7 years. That means the phone actually has to make it that far. If you give a phone basically 67 watt charging, maybe 45 watt charging, it's going to put more wear and tear on the battery over time, so it might not make it to 7 years. So having 30 watts is like the upper end that you'll see with this stuff. Is very, very common, even with like the iPhone. Doesn't have breakneck high-end charging speeds, but it's still frustrating. Because if you need it recharged quick, fast, and in a hurry, there's no such thing as recharging a Pixel phone quick, fast, and in a hurry. So that's one of the other complaints that you're going to get there. And of course, there's no charger in the box, which, I mean, that's one of those things we complain about with every single phone now, because they don't give you chargers anymore unless it's a OnePlus phone. So yes, the charging speeds, they're not the fastest in the world. Battery life seems to be okay so far. I'm not getting 8-9 hours of screen on time like I have with my S23 Ultra. I'm not getting 8.5-9 hours screen on time like I do with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. So I think this probably about third place whenever it comes to flagship battery life. I think that it's capable of the 6 hours plus, which is the minimum that I need, and it's probably fine for most folks. I mean, I was complaining about the iPhone 15 Pro because I was getting 4.5 hours of screen on time. This is definitely better than that. So I'm reserving my judgment on that until I'm still in the honeymoon phase, getting adaptive battery to kick in and stuff like that. So when I have my full review, we'll talk more about the battery. So far, it seems to be okay. I haven't really had any heat issues. The only time I've been able to get it to really heat up so far is whenever I was installing Genshin Impact, because it took over an hour of constant downloading with the screen on, so it did make it kind of warm. But so far, that's been about the only issue that I've had with it when it comes to heat. I'm not too worried about it. The other thing, it only has UFS 3.1. Now, that's not that big of a deal. It's still decent transfer speeds, decent installation speeds, decent file speeds, right? But UFS 4, which is in all the latest flagship phones, it's twice as fast. The storage is twice as fast and uses 46% less battery. That's something that probably they could have pretty easily put in here, along with more storage. So along with faster storage, it could have had more storage. $1,000 phone, I don't like the fact that it's 128 gigabytes. That's like the least amount of storage they could get away with. And I really feel like they should have put 256, just like I feel like the iPhone 15 Pro should have had 256. If you only have internal storage, you don't have an SD card, you're paying $1,000 for a phone on the tail end of 2023, I feel like it should have 256. Samsung already alleviated that problem. They're leading from the front. I'm glad. 256 is great, especially when you're talking about high quality images, 50 megapixel images, 4K video, RAW, all that stuff. That stuff eats up storage space pretty darn quick. Now, it doesn't have 8K storage, so that's one thing. So there's no 8K recording capability, so you don't have to worry about massive storage files with that. But still, I think it should have had 256, especially since they bumped it up to $1,000. It was $899. $899 was a great value proposition. I feel like the Pixel 7 Pro, $899, great value. I feel like the Pixel 6 Pro, $899, great value. I feel like they could have kept this at $899. And I don't really see that there's a whole lot of fundamental changes in this phone that I think make it light years better than the 7 Pro that they should be able to charge $1,000 for it. $1,000 is a lot. I think they look at it and they go, look, we're still $100 cheaper than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We're still $100, well, $200 really, because they bumped it up to $1,199. So they're still $200 cheaper than the 15 Pro Max. They're still $200 cheaper than the S23 Ultra. So I'll give them some credit there. It's still cheaper. It's still more of a value. But at $899, it was an amazing value. So I don't ding them too much on that. But if they were going to take it up to the $999, I feel like they should have at least thrown us $256. It has 12 gigabytes of RAM. I think that's totally fine. I think the cameras are fine. Some people have been reporting like weird artifacts and stuff in the cameras. I think we'll see some more optimization with this. Anytime you get a new camera sensor in a phone, it's not going to be as good as it is a few months later. And that's with any of them. There was a lot of this with the S23 Ultra. They switched over to the 200 megapixel camera this year. There's always a little bit of growing pains. So if you notice there's some weird artifacts, especially with HDR and stuff, I haven't really noticed too much of that. But if somebody's really gone out and tested this and taken a lot of photos and a lot of settings, it might be something, maybe a little bit of pixelation or weird artifact things in your photos. That should be fixed probably soon. That's my thought process, because here's the thing. Whenever they put the new sensor in there, there's a lot of optimization that has to go on, especially for this Tensor chip. And yeah, I think that should be pretty locked down soon. Now, the other thing is the Tensor G3. And I made a video talking specifically about this yesterday. Look, this processor is good. It's very good. And especially it seems like they've really hammered down and made things a lot more efficient, better on battery life, better on heat management. The modem does seem to be better. I don't think it's as good as the modem in the S23 Ultra, but the modem seems to be better. So, at least for me. I didn't really have a whole lot of problems, but I have zero problems. And here's the thing. It's hard for me to test it and tell you definitively, is it going to be perfect for you? Because that depends on the area you're in, what towers you're using, what service you have. For instance, I was sitting at a restaurant yesterday, and it said I had 4 bars on UC 5G, and I was getting basically no data. But I had another phone sitting right next to me that was, and it's because T-Mobile versus AT&T. I had also another phone, because I carry 3 phones with 3 SIM cards, so neither one of my AT&T lines were working good there, but the T-Mobile one was. And that's because of the network dead spot there. T-Mobile has better coverage in that spot than AT&T. So it's not specifically this modem that was having a problem, it was the AT&T service as opposed to T-Mobile. And that's one of the things you might run into. Not all networks are created equally and have the same level of coverage in every single area. And I think that might be what's attributed to some other folks having good signal versus bad signal versus all those other things. I think the modem, for me, at least off my experience, seems to be fine. So there's that. But the Tensor, yes, we know the benchmarks are not as good as the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2. They're not as good across the board as the A17 Pro. It does beat those in like AI, machine learning, all their Google's different AI learning models and stuff like that, their algorithms. This is a better phone at AI. It has a 3 gigahertz processor. It will do anything that you need it to do. Now, is it optimized for Genshin Impact? No, it's not. Genshin Impact is not optimized for the Immortalis GPU that's in here. It's not optimized and prioritized for the Tensor G3. It is for the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2. And that's the thing. Just because it's as powerful, or almost as powerful as the other ones, if it isn't optimized by all the software developers, it's never going to run exactly as good. Now, it seemed like Genshin Impact runs okay, but even when I tried to push it to like ultra high settings, it's like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. So I don't know that it's going to run on ultra high very well. On high, it seemed okay, but that's the thing. If you want a phone for gaming, as much as this can play 99% of games, if you want the best experience, this is not always going to give it to you. But I don't think most people are buying this phone for AAA max gaming experiences, right? So again, 3 gigahertz processor, has a really solid GPU in it. You can play pretty much whatever you want. Now, are you going to be able to fully max it out and get it to look and run exactly the same as it is on the S23 Ultra? No. The S23 Ultra or the OnePlus 11 will still beat it in that department, probably the A17 Pro and the iPhone as well. Now, if it gets some more optimization from some of these developers, it will increase the performance. But here's another thing. You need to understand there are differences in this stuff. I had somebody complaining to me saying that their OnePlus 10T was doing a better job. I'm like, well, just so you know, the OnePlus 10T has a 1080p screen. This is a 1440p screen. That extra resolution causes more demand on the chip. So maybe, which one thing you can do is you can turn the graphics down to 1080p. Not saying you should do that, but if you're going to compare it, then you should compare it on the same terms. So if you turn this down to 1080p and then crank the graphics up, it'll probably run better than full maxed out on 1440p. And that's a better way to correlate that and test it between your OnePlus 10T. So just a thought process there. But anyway, yes, it is good for gaming. You can play plenty of games on it. Just like that extra 5-10% over the top to where maybe an extreme gamer might notice something, yes. But then again, that's like the Asus Republic of Gaming 7 phone. It's going to be a lot better for that too, but still limited to 1080p. So that's all I got in this video. Just some things I wanted to talk about. Also, the temperature sensor I think is kind of a joke. I don't really know why they put it in here, and it's not even certified for testing actual physical temperatures for you, like for medical purposes. And I can see why, because it's not even that consistent all the time. So I don't really know why they decided to put this in there. You can do it. I've tested the temperature of some like food and stuff, but I don't really understand the purpose. Maybe at some point in time they'll add something or some sort of purpose or feature to this that we're not thinking about. But at this point in time, it's kind of like a head scratching. I don't really see the need for this. But anyway, other than those things, it's still a very good phone. It's a very, very good phone. I like it a lot. I think this is the best phone that Google has ever made. I've really been enjoying the experience, but I just wanted to talk about those, and they're kind of nitpicky things. But everybody wants to know the positives. Everybody wants to know the negatives. So I wanted to make a specific video talking about the stuff that I thought, okay, could have been better, things that I think we can improve on, or areas where I'm just like, maybe Google could have done a little bit better. But anyway, not to complain about the phone. I like it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's worth $999, and I think they did a fantastic job with it this year. So I'm going to sign off on this one. That's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, of course, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you like the Pixel videos, you're in the right place. I love Pixel products, and I like to cover them here. So hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.